Have you ever tried to explain your childhood to someone born in a different era? It feels like talking across a chasm. There's a fundamental disconnect between those who came of age in the 1970s and those raised after the 2000s. It's not just a generation gap, it's a psychological divide. For the 1970s generation, childhood was defined by a specific kind of freedom that would be considered child endangerment today. They grew up without constant surveillance. There were no cell phones, no GPS trackers. If you disappeared on your bike for 5 hours, nobody panicked. Your return home was a promise, not a tracked location. Psychologically, this created something rare in modern society: innate self-reliance. It instilled a figure-it-out mentality. These kids had to solve problems on their own, often without adult intervention. This wasn't because their parents didn't care. It was because their parents trusted them, or perhaps were simply too busy trying to keep their own heads above water. To truly understand the 70s generation, you have to look back at their parents. Most were born during or shortly after World War II. They grew up in a world where survival was the primary objective. These parents saw real hunger, real fear, and real sacrifice. They didn't process their trauma in public. They didn't share vulnerabilities. They simply endured, and they passed on that stoicism to their children. This meant the 70s kids matured faster. Responsibility wasn't taught in a lecture. It was absorbed through osmosis. You didn't replace things when they broke. You fixed them. You didn't panic when things went wrong. You adapted. The help you needed wasn't coming from outside. It came from within. This generation is a true bridge between worlds. They carry the memories of a life where everything was slow, raw, and tactile. A life with no internet, no screens, and no constant noise. But they also stand witness to a younger generation drowning in exactly that. This gives them a unique perspective. They value presence, they value silence, and they value genuine human connection over performance. Now, let's look at the generation born after 2000. They entered a world where digital stimulation began before they learned to speak. Their brains have been running at full capacity since infancy, constantly absorbing notifications, videos, and messages. The result? Mental burnout and overstimulation. This generation is smarter, more creative, and more open-minded than previous generations, but they are also mentally drained in ways older generations never had to confront. They live under the shadow of constant comparison, feeling inadequate because social media presents a filtered, unattainable standard. Their minds are constantly scrolling, never truly resting. We have two generations shaped by radically different forces. One generation learned resilience through neglect and silence. The other generation is trying to navigate a world where they are constantly connected, yet profoundly overstimulated. So, here's the big question for you. Which generation do you think faced the harder challenge? Was it the burden of silence or the burden of noise? Let me know in the comments. And tell me, are you pre-1980 or post-1980?